they should not try to give the answers if they don't know the answers. It is perfectly all right to say no to a question if they are not very sure about the answer.
One is what we call as the physical personality, जो कि हमारा हाव भाव, क्या कपड़े डाले हैं, कैसे दिख रहे हैं, कैसे हमारे बाल हैं, कैसे जूते, basically physical appearance.
How could she or he improve the soft skills?
It is not a knowledge test which has already been tested, but it is a test of your personality, your aptitude and your attitude. Hello, I am Vinod Kumar. I retired from the Indian Foreign Service in 2019 when I was ambassador in Tashkent. Now the question is, many people ask is how should one prepare for the interviews? Most of the questions will be based on your DAF and on current affairs and some on the subjects that you have studied or have taken as optional. It is not a knowledge test which has already been tested, but it is a test of your personality, your aptitude and your attitude. So that is how you should prepare for the interview. You follow the current affairs. In the current affairs, if you see that there is something which relates to your DAF or your subject, then you can do some static study on that issue. There are many international developments taking place right now, and you should be aware of what is happening around you, even if foreign service is not a choice for you. Sometimes you may come across a situation where a board member may have a different perspective than your own, which is all right. Everybody has a different viewpoint on any subject. And you should be able to defend the view that you are holding, and you should be able to give arguments in your favor, which should be based mostly on the law of the land. That is the law of our country. If you can cite some court rulings or some decisions by the government of India or by the parliament, then you should use them. If you feel that a situation has come where it is a matter of opinion between you and the board member, the best way for you should be to say that you would like to study more about the subject, or that you have an opinion, but you would like to understand the subject or the topic a little more. I think that would be a very safe way for you to exit and for the board member or another board member to ask you another question. Remember that you will be judged by the answers you give. And if you give wrong answers, then you will be judged accordingly. If you do not answer a question, nobody knows everything, you will not be judged on that question. So that's all. Best wishes. Good luck to everyone.
Hello friends, I am Commodore 𝐁𝐀𝐉𝐈𝐑𝐀𝐻. I retired as the president of the SSB and have a good fortune of interacting for more than 26,000 odd candidates. As everything depends in an interview on personality, so I thought that I'll take a couple of minutes and dwell on this aspect of personality as to how does a interviewing officer sees you when he interacts with you. When we look at personality, there's a reasonable confusion amongst people as to what personality is. So let me bring home the two important aspects of personality. One is what we call as the physical personality, जो कि हमारा हाव भाव, क्या कपड़े डाले हैं, कैसे दिख रहे हैं, कैसे हमारे बाल हैं, कैसे जूते, basically physical appearance. And the second thing of personality is here, what we call as cognitive skills. हमारी सोच क्या है? How do we think? What are my thoughts? Because thoughts are my solution, my perspective, my opinion, my takeaway, my judgment. The whole game in interview is using the physical stuff to present a pleasant personality and using cognitive skills, that is the communication and our thought process, to deliver our thoughts in a logical, cohesive, coherent manner. इसके बाद कई बार प्रश्न उठता है कि अपनी सोच को लॉजिकल, कोहेसिव, कोहेरेंट कैसे बनाया जाए. बहुत सारे बच्चे ये पूछते रहते हैं. Do understand when we look at that IS interview, interview is the final step. And before this, you have actually written your prelims, you've written your mains. That means basic knowledge in terms of the subject matter and the associated data which is seen, and basically we see the data part in prelims, and in the mains your knowledge part is seen. Now what is he trying to see in interview is a good personality when in a stressful environment of an interview generally will not buckle in. They will maintain confidence. कई बार पूछा जाता है ये कॉन्फिडेंस क्या चीज है. So let me tell you, confidence is an ability to remain cool, calm and composed in every situation. Again comes a question, what is this cool, calm, composed? What I want you to tell is, a smart boy or a girl, when he knows everything or when she knows everything, they do not get excited. And जब उनको मालूम नहीं है तो डरते नहीं हैं. When they don't know, they are not nervous. When they know everything, they are not excited. ये है कॉन्फिडेंट इंसान की समझ. क्योंकि उसने देखा है कि स्कूल कॉलेज में मुझे हमेशा 100% नहीं मिलते हैं, तो बहुत सारे प्रश्न ऐसे होंगे जिसका मेरे पास उत्तर नहीं है, मगर अगर मैं डर गया तो समझो मर गया. अगर मैंने अपने हौसला बनाए रखा तो जीत मेरी है. That is what a strong individual is. When you know it, answer it. When you don't know it, please tell, I don't know it, but I will find out. Promise him. When the interviewing officer realizes that you're an honest person, a lot of things fall into place. I was talking of in previous thing is how to be specific. Most of the times we see that when students answer questions, they answer in a very generic manner. For example, if I say, tell me of Indian Ocean region, and you tell me, sir, there are many countries in Indian Ocean, then it's a very generic answer which anyone will tell. But if you tell me there are 25 countries, then I say, oh, the data brings in authenticity and credibility. Now the question for you is, find out, it's not 25 countries, there are many more countries. So that is a question I give it to you. Go home and find out how many countries there are in Indian Ocean region, how many in Asia, how many in Africa. So when you do all these things, you start becoming specific. People say trade moves from Indian Ocean region. But if I say this much of trade moves, then it becomes specific. The issue is when we become from generic to specific, we start bringing in credibility and authenticity in our answers. And that is what is required. And where do we get all these things from? Exactly जो हमने prelims में किया था, exactly जो हमने उसमें किया है, मेंस में जब हम प्रश्न लिखते हैं तो यही तो कर रहे हैं. स्मार्ट इंसान प्रीलिम्स और मेंस को आइसोलेशन में नहीं देखता है. He or she keeps on using prelims and the mains as a conduit to make it to the interview. In an interview, it is at times seen, especially in IS interview, it's a panel interview. There are 5 panelists who are interacting with you. And generally, a panelist gets about 5 minutes to interact with you. And if he has to ask you 5 questions, that means that he takes about 10 odd seconds to deliver a question. You take about a couple of seconds to assimilate that question, and you just get about 40 to 45 seconds to respond. But if you're going to be verbose, you're going to be long, then probably he'll ask you only a couple of questions and not give you the full credit of the 5 questions that were in his data bank. The smart people, when they go for interview, especially the IS interview, they start consolidating points in what we say is sparse sentences. If suppose somebody asks me, tell me about Delhi, तो शायद मैं बोलूँगा Delhi is the capital of the largest democracy in the world. In one sentence I have told Delhi क्या है, capital है, capital क्या है, democracy का, democracy क्या जो संसार से सबसे बड़ी democracy. In one sentence I have gone global. Smart people use whole lot of these things. Probably I'll be talking of the UNESCO sites in Delhi, I'll be talking of the GI tags in Delhi. In 5 sentences, I'll be perhaps talking of 2 schemes of the government which has been implemented in Delhi. That is how a smart individual uses whole lot of his data that is available to him, put it across in a logical, cohesive, coherent manner. One of the easiest way to do it is whenever you read a newspaper, I would very strongly recommend, if you're preparing for interview, don't read but start writing it on a paper. Maybe 5 sentences on every aspect. If you see Russia-Ukraine war, 5 sentences, Israel-Hamas, 5 sentences, Indian Ocean, 5 sentences, Pakistan, 5 sentences. I keep on writing 5 sentences on virtually everything. And when I start writing, thereafter I start prioritizing my thought process. मैं ढूंढता नहीं हूँ चीज़ों को because I've already consolidated them on the paper. And when the time comes, it is etched in my mind, it just flows out. It flows out as simply as I'm talking to you. I've not written a script, I've not done anything, because everything is etched over here and I'm delivering right over here. So that is how a smart individual works. I would very strongly recommend do look into some YouTube channels. There are a lot of channels which are there. I don't want to advertise for anyone, but Palki Sharma and Shekhar Gupta definitely stand out. Listen to them and start making points. The aim is to start writing. When we write it on paper, we use our hand, we use our eyes, we use our brain to write our thoughts on the paper. And when we write it on the paper, actually we are etching it over here. And the game is being played here. Interview kahin nahi ho rahi, interview yahan hai. That is where your cognitive skills and your real personality is. After having said this, now let me deal with another very important aspect which a lot of people are enamored with. What are hobbies? Please do understand, everyone tells you कि भाई साहब डॉक्टर बन जाओ, इंजीनियर बन जाओ, IAS ऑफिसर बन जाओ, फौज में चले जाओ, बट कोई ये नहीं बोलता कि हॉबी कौन सी लेनी है. Why? Because hobby is your inner calling. Your actual personality comes out when you deal with your hobby. With hobby, you are interacting with yourself, not with the world. मुझे जो satisfaction देती है, जो मेरी creativity बढ़ाती है, जो मुझे de-stress करता है, जो मुझे happiness देता है, वो है hobby. That is why hobby plays a very important role. Let me bring out one common thing so that you understand by this example what I want to say. If my hobby is cooking, बहुत सारे लोग, आपकी माता जी भी घर में खाना बनाती होंगी, but that is not a hobby for her. It's a routine daily activity. But when it turns into a hobby, then you start inventing, you start experimenting, you start innovating, you start understanding कौन से मसाले, कैसा इस मसाले को डालना तो क्या, कौन सी सब्जी लेके आनी, कौन सी ऑर्गेनिक सब्जी, कौन सी कहाँ से लेके आना, and you start practice working with various cuisines. You start following, maybe आज तरला दलाल को follow कर रहे हो, कल संजीव कपूर को पढ़ोगे, उसके बाद कुकरी बुक लेके आते हो, and you start investing into it, and you start innovating, and whenever you do it, it gives you that sense of achievement, sense of happiness, sense of satisfaction. That is what is hobby. जब मैं जो करता हूँ उसमें मुझे आनंद मिलता है, मुझे मज़ा आता है. जब मुझे आनंद मिलता है और मुझे मज़ा आता है तो I dive deeper into it. For example, जैसे आप लोगों की जनरेशन को रील्स पसंद है. Half the time you see that kids are on the reel. आप जैसे बहुत सारे लोग सेल फोन खोला और धड़ाधड़ रील देखते रहते हैं. Why? Because it gives you happiness and satisfaction. But suppose if you are reading a book, if it gives you happiness and satisfaction, you will start visualizing the character. You will start thinking क्या कपड़े डाले हैं, जब वो खाना खा रहा तो क्या स्मेल आ रही है, उसके खाने में से क्या फ्रेगनेंस आ रही है, how is he doing, if he is running, how is he sweating. You start getting into the picture, into the book, and you can start feeling, you become an actor yourself. That is what is actually a hobby. Most of us deal it on superficial level, on very surface level, but that is a gentleman or boy or a girl with a good sense of achievement. But nevertheless, if your hobby is, you do not have that kind of time to invest in it, there is a quick fix solution to it also. Open any hobby and open this joker. बता देगा 8 से 10 sentences उस hobby के बारे में, तो please find out. और कॉइन कलेक्शन आपकी हॉबी है तो शायद आपको मेटलर्जी के बारे में मालूम होगा, करेंसी के डिनोमिनेशंस के बारे में मालूम होगा, बहुत सारे कंट्रीज़ की अगर आप कलेक्ट करते हैं उन कंट्रीज़ के बारे में मालूम होगा, उनके सिम्बोलॉजी के बारे में मालूम होगा. दैट इज़ व्हाट इज़ इफ कॉइन कलेक्शन इज़ योर हॉबी. So that is what it is important. Whatever you do, please dive deeper into it. If gardening is your hobby, perhaps you will be aware of whether you are doing ornamental plants or you're growing simply herbs or you're growing vegetables. What अगर ये जानते हैं तो किस मौसम में कौन सा फूल निकलता है, कौन सी खाद जाती है, कौन सा पेस्टिसाइड जाता है, उसकी स्मेल क्या है, कितनी बार पानी देना पड़ता है, कितनी बार गोडी करना पड़ता है, ये सारी चीज़ें आपको मालूम चलना शुरू हो जाती. और ये हम मज़े से करते हैं बिकॉज इट गिव्स अस हैप्पीनेस. इट गिव्स अस व्हेन आई सी माय गार्डन फुल blooming with flowers, it gives me a great sense of achievement that I have from nothing, from that seed I have created this source of colorful source around me. So that is what is hobbies. So I would very strongly recommend whatever is your hobby, dive little deeper into it and learn from your hobby, because hobbies are a reflection of our personalities. It brings home the concept of integrity, honesty. It brings home the sense of satisfaction. There are many other things which come out of it. So my request to you would be dive little deeper. I enjoyed interacting with you. I wish you all the best. God bless you.
I have been asked a question. Suppose a candidate from rural area comes to civil service interview. How could she or he improve the soft skills? First of all, rural area candidate may not be so comfortable with English communication. If so, he or she should decide whether they should go for mother tongue as the media of communication. If after some time, if there is adequate time, you can prepare for answering in English, okay, you can go for English. Otherwise, the candidate should, it would be advisable for the candidate to choose the mother tongue so that soft skills will be, at least a language barrier will not be a problem. So when it comes to mother tongue, Hindi or English or Telugu or let us say Punjabi or any rural area, the candidate comes, the UPSC understands he is from the rural area, the DAF will speak that the candidate is from the rural area. So the UPSC board members will be very, very soft, very accommodative, very understanding to the rural background of the candidate. First of all, India is still an agrarian economy with a rural population is more, and India's development is rural oriented. We have to convert our villages into self-developing Atmanirbhar Bharat, Atmanirbhar villages. So the candidates will have lot of consideration, sympathetic attention, compassion, first of all, from the UPSC team. Suitability of a civil servant will be evaluated, adjudged by UPSC on these parameters. Thank you.
So I'm A.K. Mehra, Indian Revenue Service, 1984 batch. I have retired in 2016 as a Principal Commissioner of Central Excise and Customs, now GST. For last 2 years, I have been conducting mock interviews of the students who have to appear in civil services interviews. On the basis of my experience in the last 2 years and after interviewing large number of candidates, I have few things to share with the prospective candidates for preparation of their interviews. Now the first thing is, what are the common mistakes which candidates generally do, and what are the measures they should take to improve upon it? Now, if I have to point out general mistakes, first thing I should say that candidates should not bluff. They should not try to give the answers if they don't know the answers. It is perfectly all right to say no to a question if they are not very sure about the answers. You may articulate your no, that's something like with the words that I have read about it and I am not able to recall right now. Or I don't know about it. I have not read about it. So that the interview member move to the next question, and that question may be in your comfort zone. By trying to answer a question for which you are not very sure, you will put yourself into a problem, because immediately this lack of knowledge will be noted down by the members, and he may ask some counter question, and that you may be caught on that. Thank you very much.